Okay, so these will be the directions for SolidWorks 3D Part 3-2 for my computer design here at Grandview High School. So let's get this one started. Now again, normally I'd have this in my Schoology. We'd have it, open it up within your Schoology environment. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and start in the 2A area. And since I don't have it listed up here, I'm just going to go down to the home page here, and I'm going to click on the beginning SolidWorks tab. And you'll notice all the drawings and parts that we're going to do are all in there for this section that we are currently working on. Now, I see two 3.2s or 3-2s. I see a part and I see a drawing. The one we want to start with is part 3-2. Now, again, this is a 3D PDF file. In order for this to work, we have to download this. Schoology will not play or let us use or interact with 3D PDF files. So when I click on this, it's going to open up in Schoology, but I won't be able to see anything. So in order for this to work, I have to do a download. And the download's right up here to the right. I'm going to down click on that, and then I'm going to say open with Adobe Acrobat. Now for some of you, that may actually physically download it into your downloads folder, which would have to be under here in the downloads folder here. In that case, open up the downloads, double click on the file, and say open with Adobe Acrobat. Now in this case, I'm going to open it and say OK. And what's going to happen is going to open up a file like so, and I know it's in Adobe because it's going to have a yellow bar at the top that says the 3D content has been disabled. Well, I want to enable it. So the way I'm going to do that is go up to here to Options and drop it down to Trust this document one time only. Now, at this point, I have my file that I need to use. Now, this is unique about 3D PDF files. This is the nice thing about it. I can left click and I can rotate and look at the part we're going to work at today. Okay, so in this case, if you're looking, you can see that we basically have this block. It looks like we've got a flat base here, kind of some step up on the side, kind of an L shape going along the back. Okay, click on it again, it goes right back in there. Now, looking at the front, you can look that way. Looking at the top, you can look that way. Right side. Looking at this one, I'm kind of going to go back to this plan here and or this view here to create my plan. Looking at this, I think I'm going to go ahead and draw the base of this. Okay, because the base is nothing more than a rectangle. So I'm going to go here and draw the base we're using a corner rectangle tool. I'll draw the base, get a dimension, and I'm going to extrude it up or add thickness from this bottom, or in this case, the top plane. I'm going to take it from here and at that point, go to this corner here. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll use this top surface as another sketching surface. And I think the second step I'll do will be to draw this L shape, extrude it up to this level here, and then finish off with a cut to the left and a cut to the right. Now, the big thing here is what units am I going to create this part in? So let's read our notes here. It says you'll be creating the following part using the drawings and parameters identified below. Save the part using part 3-2 underscore your last name. So for example, part 3-2 underscore Combs. Today's unit system will be mmgs, which means millimeter, gram, and second. And we should all know that millimeter means metric. Decimal places for this will be 2. The part origin is arbitrary. This means just it started from the part origin, which will be the 000 spot. The material today will be brass, and your two variables, A will be equal to 100 and B will be 40. Where do those take effect? A is here and B is for the height. So A is the width, B is the height. Okay, so let's go into SolidWorks and let's start a new project. Okay, new document. Now, as I said before break, we're just drawing on paper. We're no longer doing that. We'll add our parts to the paper at the end. What I want to do is start a part file. Now, we only have two choices. I can do it in inches or I can do it in metric. Since this said it was supposed to be built in mmgs, that means metric. So I'm going to click on the metric part and I'm going to say OK. And what this is going to do is give me a drawing, basically a blank drawing environment. Okay, this is the drawing environment here for SolidWorks. At the center of it is our origin. That is the 00 mark or 000 mark of space. Okay, that's the X, Y, and Z 0 mark. Over here to the left, again, is called the design tree. Okay, and when we start a new part, we need to reference the design tree to figure out which plane I'm going to start from. Now, I want to start this from a top, okay? And again, if we're looking back at my drawing, the reason I want to start on the top is that is the top view here with the rectangle. So I'm going to go back to Solidworks, and I'm going to highlight that top plane right there. Now, you may be thinking, I can't see it, I can't see it. Don't panic. Just highlight top plane, go up to the top where it says Sketch tab, and turn on the word Sketch and watch what happens. SOLIDWORKS will automatically flip the plane so it's flat to the screen called normal to, and it turns the blue 00 mark to red. When you see it turn red, that indicates you are actually drawing something. And how do I know? Well, if you look over here, design tree, it automatically added a new branch called Sketch. So we are currently in the sketching mode. I can also see that all my sketch tools are active right now. So at this point, what I want to do is I want to draw a rectangle. And I could do that with a line tool, but I want to be efficient. So I'm going to use my corner rectangle tool here. Okay, and if you don't see that, drop that arrow down and pick corner rectangle. Now again, we have to reference this origin. So when I do my design, I sketch to the origin always. So I'm going to start right here at this origin, the 000 point, and left click. I'm going to pull up and to my right to create a box, and left click again. Now my tool is still active, so I'm going to hit the escape button to deactivate the tool, and then I'm going to hit my F key. That will center the part up or the sketch up in my screen. Now remember, SOLIDWORKS is color dependent. Okay, it wants sketches to be black. Right now, I only see a black line to my left, a black line to the bottom, but I see blue to the right and top. We need those lines to turn black. I can also see down here towards the bottom, it says under defined. That means it needs more information. That information it needs is my smart dimensions. Now, looking back at my PDF file, I'm looking at the top view. It looks like the long side here is the letter A. That is going to be 100. Then the side here that I'm going to dimension will be 60. So going back into SOLIDWORKS, I'm going to hit this bottom line and make that 100, letter A. Hit this right-hand side, left click, and make this 60. Now, if you look at all the lines, they're black. SOLIDWORKS is fully defined and happy. It's ready to add some thickness. So if you recall from part 3-1, we have a new bar that we just added onto here since we're in part called Features. Features is where we add in our third dimension. Now remember, you only get a couple choices on the very first step. You can either add thickness, you can spin it and add thickness, or you can basically create a pathway and make it follow that path, adding thickness. In this case, we're keeping it simple. We're just going to add a straight extrusion. So I'm going to left click right here, and what SOLIDWORKS is going to do is it's going to rotate itself into an isometric view, and it's going to give you a silhouette of what the thickness will look like. Now for metric, the default is 10 millimeters. Okay, now let's go back to that drawing again of the part. Let's look at how thick this is. So I'm going to go through my views, and I find in my front this thickness right here, this base right here, if you rotate this around, this base right here is 10 millimeters thick. So I'm going to go back to SOLIDWORKS and make that 10 millimeters, and lo and behold, it already is. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit my check mark. Now in the metric system, at least in this template that we're using, you'll notice the part turns blue. This is critical. If you ever see a part that you're creating in blue, it means it has no material added to it, no mass. Okay, so in this case, I have to look at my design tree and find the area where I can add mass. So looking to my left, I see right in the middle, this thing says material not specified. Well, I need to specify a material. So I'm going to hover right over the top of that, right click, edit material. Now I'm going to minimize this so you can see all the materials we have. Now looking at this, we said over here that the material today will be brass. Well, for those that don't know where brass comes from, it is a copper alloy. It's a mix of copper and tin. So if I go underneath copper, you'll notice in alphabetical order, there is the word brass. left click, apply, close. Now it looks like brass and has all the properties of brass. Okay? Now going back to my part and looking at the isometric view, what I've basically just created was this low platform all the way around. Now what I want to do is I want to create basically this L shape that goes above it. So if I look at this top view, I'm going to actually change the lighting on this so you can see it better, bright lights. I want to create an L shape right here on this top surface right here. So going back into SolidWorks, I'm going to highlight this face. And by highlighting that and telling it I want to turn on my sketch tools, that face essentially becomes a piece of paper I can draw on. So I'm going to go to Sketch, Space Bar. Now remember, we got to turn it to our screen. So I'm going to go to this little arrow and go to Normal To. I'm going to turn on my line tool. I'm going to start at this lower corner and I'm basically going to trace the outside edge. So I'm going to pull up to the far corner, lock it onto that corner when it turns orange, go to the far corner, lock it on here to this corner, left click. I'm going to pull down on this line, approximately about 20 millimeters, left click, pull into my part, left click, pull back down to this bottom edge here, straight down, left click, and then close it by attaching it back to the origin. I'm going to hit escape to turn my tool off. Now again, this is a sketch. I want every sketch line to be black. Right now all I see is black is this line here, the left, the top, and the far right. But I see two lines that are blue. I also see down here where it says underdefined, meaning SolidWorks needs more information. So I'm going to turn on my Smart Dimension. I'm going to dimension from this left black line to this right blue line and pull down. Type in 20 and hit enter. Now where did I get that 20? I got that 20 from this view right here. Okay, so it looks like I also have to add 20 between this line here. Again, I'll adjust that lighting for you. I need to adjust this line from here, or the measurement from here to here, and make that 20. So I'm going to go back to SolidWorks, and with my tool still active, I'm going to take this line here to the top line here and pull to my left, and left click. Type in 20 and hit enter. And what you should now see is that every line in this sketch is black. More importantly, down here it says fully defined. SolidWorks is happy. It's ready to go to the next step, which is to add more material. Now to see the material added on, I like to hit my space bar and I like to click on this blue box in the corner called isometric. It'll rotate the part so I can actually see what's going to happen here. Now to add more thickness here, I need to go to my features toolbar, and to add thickness, I'm going to go to extrude boss base. Now what it's going to do, it's going to give me a silhouette, and right now it's again at 10 millimeters. Now I need to go back to my drawing and think about this for a second. If I go to my front view, it shows me, and again I'll lighten this up so you can see it better. It shows me, well, I've already done the 10 millimeters right here. We built this base. But it tells me from the bottom to the very top of this, it's letter B. Okay, does everyone see that? Letter B. That means from this very bottom to the very top is 40. However, since I've already created 10 of this, I need to actually do 40 minus the 10. So my actual height in this case, instead of 10, is going to be 30. 30 and hit enter. So now what I've got is I got 10 millimeters here plus another 30 here. So now when I hit the check mark, it will be 40 to that line there. I hit my check mark, and now my piece is 40 tall. Okay, so now if you're looking back at our isometric, what I've now created, sorry, let me go back to the lighting. What I've created is the base and a big L shape here. But as you can see, I've got a couple cutouts I've got to add. Now what I'm going to do in my case is I'm going to draw on this face right here. I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to sketch a rectangle, and then I'm going to tell that the SolidWorks in the feature bar to cut that rectangle out. So now I need to look at a view to find that rectangle. And it looks like it's going to be in the front view. It looks like it's going to be a rectangle that's 30 millimeters long by 10 tall. So let's go back to SolidWorks here. Highlight this face. And I'm going to draw on this face a rectangle right here in this corner that's 30 long by 10 tall and cut through. So I go to my Sketch tab and turn on Sketch, spacebar, hit your normal to. Now I'm going to use my corner rectangle tool to left click. I'm going to attach a rectangle right to that corner. You see the orange dot. Left click and pull down, and then hit escape to deactivate the tool. Now as you can see at the bottom, underdefined is showing. That means there's not enough information. So let's turn on the Smart Dimension and click on this top line and pull up. When I left click, it shows me right now at 41. I want to make that 30. 30, hit enter. I'm going to go to the right side here and left click. Pull to my right, left click again. In this case, instead of 12, it said in the drawing, it should be 10. Now, if you look carefully, all of my sketch lines are now black. It is fully defined. SolidWorks is happy. So now what I want to do is I'm going to hit my space bar and go to my isometric view again because I want to see this. And now what I want to do is tell SolidWorks to take this box and cut through. So let's go to Features. Now, if I hit Extrude, what will happen is it's just going to add material to that box. So I don't want to add material. I want to take material away. I want to cut it. So if you look over here, instead of Extrude Boss Base, I want to Extrude Cut it. So if I click on this, it's going to show a silhouette of how it's going to cut. Now what I want to do is cut it through all. So if I look at the word blind here and drop this arrow down, I'm going to pick the word through all and left click. And what it's going to do is it's going to cut till it sees nothing else and stop. When I see the silhouette the way I like it, which right now I do like, I'm going to come into my green check mark and left click. So now that corner has been cut off. So going back to our PDF file, in my isometric, I now have this corner gone. I have the base, I have the L shape with this corner gone. I need to get rid of this corner here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this face over here, start a new sketch, and create a square. That square is going to be 20 by 20, and then I will cut through. So going back to SolidWorks, I'm going to highlight this face here. I'm going to start on a sketch toolbar, a new sketch, hit my space bar, and do normal to. I'm now going to turn on my corner rectangle and lock on that corner. You'll see a little orange dot pop up. Pull down and left click. I'm going to hit escape to turn my tool off, and then turn on my Smart Dimension to make the top line 20. And this left line here, left click again, 20. Now again, look at your lines. Are they all black? If they are, and you see the word fully defined down here, SolidWorks is ready to roll. Okay, so again, I'm going to hit my space bar, isometric view, so there's my box. Now I want to take this and cut it through. So go to your Feature tab, and I'm not going to add material. This adds. Extrude Boss Base is adding material. I want to cut it. So I'm going to go Extruded Cut, and again, I'm going to tell it I want it through all. So drop your arrow and say Cut Through All. Hit your check mark, and now your part is complete. So now what I need to do is save this. And it said over here in our notes that I need to save it as part 3-2 _ your last name. I want all your parts saved the same. So I'm going to go up to here and say, okay, File, Save As. I'm going to put this into my H drive, CAD folder. I created a 3D part folder on 3-1, double click in there, and inside that folder, type in the following. I prefer caps lock, so I'm going to put that on there. Part 3-2 _ my last name. Part is now saved. Now it says in our PDF file that I need to print the mass properties. So if you recall from part number 3-1, we have to go evaluate this part and find how much it weighs. So up at top at the tab that says evaluate, you're going to find mass properties. Right here it looks like a scale. You're going to weigh it. Left click. I get a pop-up. So now there it is. There's the part name right there, 3-2_Combs. And then I'm going to look at the mass. And it looks like the mass today is going to weigh 1,105.00 grams. Now I want you to keep this. So I'm going to go ahead and have you print it. Make sure you're printing it to the correct printer. In this case, L108. Hit OK. As soon as you've got that printed, close this out, go to the printer, and grab your mass properties and bring it back to your desk. As soon as you have it back to your desk, I want you to go ahead and start preparing for the new drawing. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to now go up to File New. It's right up here at the top, right next to the house. Left click. Now again, these are our part files. Now we're going to put it onto a drawing. This part or this drawing that is in your PDF file, which I will now open, and that is located in here under your Beginning SOLIDWORks, in the Beginning SOLIDWORks folder. I'm going to go to Part 3-2 Drawing, and I'm going to open that up, download, and open with Adobe Acrobat so I can go full screen. Okay, this is on an A border. What's important is I need to make sure that the units I drew it in match the units of the drawing, in this case metric. So I'm going to open a GHSA metric here and say OK. F key. Now again, you should see your part over here in the open documents. If you don't, go to Browse and go find that part. Left click on it and say open. It will now populate in here. I'm going to cancel and go to the blue arrow right here that says next. Now again, as I said in part 3-1, this procedure I'm going to show you is the same on all parts and drawings that we're doing pretty much for the remainder of the year. So follow these steps closely. There are 4 steps to do here. The first one is in the standard views. I want you to pick the middle box called front. Left click. Go down to your preview box, and if you do not see a check mark in there, left click inside and make sure the check mark shows. What that does is allows you to see what the part's going to look like on the paper. That's step number 2. Step number 3 is under display style. Right now it is showing hidden lines removed. I want you to go to the left and make sure the hidden lines are visible. Everything you turn into me must have hidden lines visible. Last but not least, step number 4 is get the scale. So looking at our drawing that I produced for you, the scale today should be at 1:1. So going back to SOLIDWORks, it looks like right now the scale is set at 1:2. Excuse me. So I am now going to go use custom scale, drop that arrow down, and go 1:1. Now, with my 4 steps done, front view, preview, hidden lines on, and scale correct, come out to your paper and left click. There's my front view. Pull straight up, left click, pull to your right, left click, up to your right corner, left click, hit escape. Now, you'll notice something happened over here. This box suddenly showed up and the metric is kind of in an odd spot. This template I've got to correct, okay? I'm going to left click and just highlight. I'm going to pull a window, drag a window, crossing window around that box right here and hit your delete key. Go over here to metric and left click and hold and drop it down to the lower right corner. Now with metric highlighted in light blue, over to your left, look where it says border here. I want you to drop it from none to box. And now that has been fixed. Okay, so now here is my drawing. Now going back to my answer key, it looks like this view up here needs to be shrunken down and made color. It looks like I need to go to a scale of 1 to 2. So let's go get that added on. Solidworks, part drawing. Now again, if you hover inside here, you'll see a box form around your part. Left click inside that box. Go over here to the left where it says display style and turn on shaded with edges. It'll now have color with black lines. Scale. Use custom scale. Left click. Drop that down to 1 to 2. As soon as you see it the correct size, hit your check mark, and now you can drag this wherever you want. What I like to do is go ahead at this point and add that note underneath it. So looking at this, it says part 3-2 isometric view, scale 1 to 2, material is brass, and the mass is going to be whatever we found it to be. I believe it was 1105.00 grams. So going back into my SolidWorks, I'm going to go ahead to my annotation toolbar and go to the note tool. Oops, sorry, I hit the spell checker. That was not what I wanted. Go to note tool. And now what I'm going to do is come up here and drop my note underneath my isometric view. Now same exact setup. Arial, font size 12, bold, underline, centered. Caps lock on, part 3-2, isometric view, enter, bold and underline off. Scale 1:2. Material is brass. Enter. Mass equals. Now we're not going to ever put X's in here. Never ever turn something in with X's there. You will look now at your mass property sheet sitting at your table. According to my mass properties currently sitting in front of me, I have 1105.00, and this is important. You must put your units on there. Grams. As soon as you have this filled in correctly, hit your green check mark. Now I'll back up a little bit. Now you can adjust this. I'll put it a little more centered, maybe a little more to the left. I can take this and move it around. Left click and drag wherever you need it to make it look neat. Now, I've got that view finished according to the answer key. Now what I want to do is I want to get these dimensions put on here. So it's just like we did when we did the flat layouts. I need to use my Smart Dimension tool. Now in this case, I'll kind of blow up on the front view here so I can see what's going on. So it looks like I need a 100 dimension, a 30, a 10, a 10, and a 40 in the front view. So let's go over to our drawing. Turn on my Smart Dimension tool. From this top line here, or that midline there to the bottom, I'm going to put 10. Check, and then hit that little dot. This line up here will be 10. Hit the dot. From the top to the bottom will be 40. Let's go back and look again. I need the 30 and the 100. So I'm going to go here, bring it up to 30. And from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, pull up and make it 100. So that view looks just like that view. Now, sliding over here by holding my middle mouse button down and dragging, I will now go over here and look at the right side view. Looks like I need a 20, a 20, another 20, and then 60 across. So I am going to go back to SolidWorks. Smart Dimension tool is still on. So I'm going to go here and pull up. That is 20. Hit my arrow inside. Pull here. That is 20. From this left line to this right line is 20 with the arrow slipped inside. And then from left side to right side, this will be 60. Now, I'm done with my dimensions, and you can see these are pretty close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this right view a little bit more to the right, drag the front view a little bit more to the left. That way there's a little bit more space in between. Go back to my view and double check I have all the things I need. So I have all my dimensions. I have my title. The only thing missing is my title block. So going back into SolidWorks Drawing, I'm going to change the title from SolidWorks Drawing, double click, change it to a font size of 14, call this SolidWorks Part Drawing, space dash space, Part 3-2. Click outside. I'm going to left click and drag this, get it centered up, make it look nice. GHS student is going to turn to my first initial and my last name. Click outside and drag it a little bit closer and center it up. The date today is going to be 10/24/19. Again, I'll just kind of center that up. And then last but not least, put the proper period in there. At this point, if I hit my F key, my drawing is complete and ready to be submitted in. But I need to save it first. So I'm going to go up here to File, Save. It's going to come up exactly with Part 3-2_Combs. The only thing that changed was the file type. It went from PRT to DRW for drawing. Leave it the same. Make sure it is in your CAD 3D parts folder so your part and drawing stay together. Hit Save. At this point, we're ready to print and turn in. So I'm going to go to File, Print. Make sure that you are printing to the proper printer. In this case, L108. Hit OK. When it's done printing, go grab it from your printer, grab your mass property sheet, and I would like you to go and staple it in the upper left corner with the mass properties on the back. Turn it into the grade collection box and go back to your desk and begin working on Part 3-3. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask or ask your neighbor. At this point, this